So next we are looking into the ordinal approach. Ordinal approach as opposite to the cardinal, where cardinal you were going for the quantitative approach to quantify the utility. This is a qualitative approach where you understand the consumer preferences and how consumer rank their preferences are based on that, which different consumer preferences, different bundle of goods available to them. You try to find out which one is the best for them and which one can maximize their utility. So this is what we will learn in ordinal approach. The ordinal approach can be of two approach, right? In this, one is indifference curve approach. Another is revealed preference approach. So another is revealed preference approach. Both are the qualitative approach. We'll go in detail about how the consumer behavior work in these two approaches. First, we'll look into indifference curve approach. So before going into indifference curve approach, there are different axioms associated with ordinal approach, which you can understood is a kind of assumption that you have taken 6 assumption in cardinal approach. Similarly, you have it here. So one is axiom of, as you say that if you could like continuity, then reflexivity, transitivity, then convexity, selfishness, and completeness. One is completeness. So there are 6 axioms, and this actually helps you to derive your utility in under your ordinal approach. So completeness, basically these are all are self-explanatory. Completeness, if you say that if you are choosing a bundle of goods, one over that, consider this is a one bundle Q1 and this is another bundle. Under this you have X1, Y1. Under this you have X2, Y2. Right? So these axioms are based on that how consumer are preferring that, like consumer prefers X1 over X2 over X1 and then X3 over X2. That means X3 will always be preferred over X1. Okay, that is your transitivity. Convexity is that your demand curve or your utility is always convex. We'll see convex to the origin. We'll see why, how next. Then you have axiom of selfishness. Then again, consumer is selfish when it is trying to derive its utility and trying to maximize it. They don't think about any. There is no altruistic behavior, and we are not bringing philanthropy in economics here while deriving. So our assumption is consumer is selfish. Okay, so how do we know convexity function? We'll see how curve is convex, utility curve. So consider your utility is u x1, x2. So you are we are considering two goods here, two good points where of x1 is one good and x2 is another good, and so utility in terms of that. By differentiating, by doing the total differentiation, so du becomes d u1 dx1 plus u2 dx2, right? Now, okay, I should have gone to indifference curve before going to this utility across the indifference curve. So Before going to that, we'll just see little bit about utility indifference curve. So what is indifference curve here? In ordinal function, you try to derive a curve where along that curve, try to derive a function which is in your indifference curve, and along the curve, utility is constant. So customer can or consumer can choose any bundle across the curve. They will get the same utility. So consider this is the curve here, and this is your x2 and x1. x1 is one good, x2 is another good. So on the indifference curve, it could a consumer could choose this, any other point. So it could consider this is 10 of good x2 and 1 of good x1. This is 2 of good x1 and 7 of good x2. So this is the different bundle on this curve. But since it's the indifference curve, any bundle consumer choose gives him the same utility. So that is what is your indifference curve. So indifference curve could be multiple here, and then our job or our idea behind this ordinal approach to find out which indifference curve suits consumer the best based on their budget constraint. So we'll see what is that, but before that we'll look into the utility function. So now you see that on the indifference curve your utility is always 0, right? No, not utility is 0, utility is same. So that means difference in utility is 0. So du is which is your difference in utility on the indifference curve will be 0. Right? So this becomes 0. Okay. So now your dx1 and dx2. So if you see dx2 u2 minus u1 dx1. So dx2 divided by dx1 equal to minus u1 by u2. Right? Now u1, this is your, now you know utility is a concept which cannot go into negative. Either your utility is 0 or it has to be positive. So u1 is greater than 0, u2 is greater than 0. So overall this becomes less than 0. So your dx2 divided by dx1 is less than 0. And what is dx2 and dx1? That's the slope of your graph, slope of your curve, utility, your indifference curve here. Yeah. So this is x1, this is x1. So any point of x1, x2, any point along x1, x2, your slope of curve is dx2 by dx1, which is less than 0. That means your slope is less than 0, which tells you it is convex. So this is convex to your origin. So this mathematical function shows that your utility curve is going to be convex. Okay, now we have seen the utility function. We have seen why utility function is convex, your indifference curve is convex to your origin. And now we will go to the properties of indifference curve. Before we understand more, we need to understand property of indifference curve, which is very important. So you have indifference curve here. The first property says higher indifference curve gives you higher utility. So what does that mean? You can have multiple indifference curve. So this property says that the higher which is this here, consider this is IC5, IC4, IC3, IC2, IC1. Okay, so you know utility across the indifference curve is same, but if you go to higher utility curve, which is these, it gives you higher utility. So consider utility is 10 here, it could be 20, it could be 30, 40, 50 like that. So higher indifference curve give you higher utility. The next property is indifference curve cannot intersect each other. Indifference curve cannot intersect each other. So your indifference curve will always be parallel to each other. If they cannot intersect, that means they have to be parallel. So consider they intersect. This is one indifference curve IC1. This is two indifference curve IC2. So consider it is intersecting. It is not parallel. This is x2. This is x1. So now you know indifference curve indifference curve utility is same. The same indifference curve utility is same, but difference utility curve and difference are different indifference curve your utility are different. So now consider this is x1 point or p point. Consider this is q point and this is r point, right? So according to that, your P is equal to R because both are on IC2. So same utility. Then again your P is equal to Q is IC1. Then P is equal to R, which is IC2, right? Because both are same utility, same utility. So using these two equations, you can say that your Q equal to R, which is definitely not same because those two are on different curve and different have the different value. So that's the reason indifference curve cannot intersect each other. So by definition and by they has to be parallel to each other. That's the reason when you say the parallel, your higher curve give you higher utility. So this is always parallel. Now, utility maximization. How do we maximize the utility using your indifference curve approach? So now, you know you have different indifference curve. This is your x2, this is x1. Okay, and how do you know which indifference curve is optimum for the customer? And your constraint is always x1 is greater than 0, x2 is greater than 0 because your whatever you consume should be greater than 0 x1 and whatever x2 you consume should be greater than 0. It cannot be less than 0. And another is price of x1 plus into price of x2, price of x1 and price of x2, price of x2 equal to m. Less than equal to m basically. So basically, if it's a two goods world and you are only buying two goods, so whatever goods x1 you buy and whatever good x2 you buy, the combination of total expenditure what you have done on x1 and x2 should be less than or equal to your income m. So either it should be less or it should be equal. So that is your constraint. Now this constraint is called your budget constraint. So this is called your budget constraint. You have a budget constraint, you have indifference curve. Now, which curve to choose? So basically, the curve where your slope of curve and slope of budget constraint are equal, which in turns means your slope, your budget constraint is, tangent to your curve, whichever curve, that is the optimum curve, indifference curve for the consumer, which is basically your optimum utility for the consumer. So why it has to be tangent and why it has to be slope of, we'll see by the utility maximization. When we look into utility maximization problem, you will see this is how this is proved that this is true. That how you consumer utility maximize, your consumer utility is maximized at the point where your budget constraint is tangent. That means your function utility, your slope of utility is equal to your slope of budget constraint. Now, utility maximization problem, we'll just keep it as UMP. You have to maximize, your utility is given in terms of ux1 and ux2. Okay. So problem is to maximize it. Maximize the utility ux1 and ux2 and you will get your ultimate indifference curve where your utility is maximized. And what is your constraint? Your constraint is x1 is equal to x1 should be greater than 0, x2 should be greater than 0 and then p1 x1 plus p2 x2 should be less than equal to m. Okay. Now we are going to solve this by Lagrange function. Now what does the Lagrange function tells you? It gives you the maximum function, and if you have any constraint on that, so how can you write your Lagrange? L should be equal to your function, which is your ux1 x2 plus lambda, which is your Lagrange constant, and into by your constraint is m minus px1 plus p2x2. That is your Lagrange function. Okay, this was L equal to ux1 ux2 plus lambda m minus p1 x1 p2 x2. This is your constraint, this is your function for which you have to derive. Now we know this. Now what you need to do, you need to differentiate first by x1, then differentiate second by x2, then differentiate third by lambda. So you have three variable here, which is x1, x2 and lambda. We will differentiate by three variable. Partial derivation will do. So when we are talking about differentiation here, this is a partial differentiation, and then we'll do equal to 0 here to maximize, to derive our maximum x1 and x2. Okay. So when we differentiate by dx1, so your du by dx1, this will become 0. This will also become 0 because it's a partial differentiation and that becomes constant. So now it will become lambda p1 equal to 0. Okay. Now we'll differentiate with respect to x2. So du by dx2, then again lambda m will become 0 because it's constant with respect to x2, and lambda p1 also become 0 constant with respect to x2, then lambda p2 equal to 0. Okay. Now d lambda equal to 0, these will become 0 because there is no lambda here in this function. So this is function will, when you partially differentiation with lambda, it will become 0. So now this becomes m minus p1 x1 minus p2 x2 equal to 0. So you got the three equation. Okay. Now by this equation, equation 1, your lambda becomes, or you can say your du by dx1 becomes lambda p1. Okay. And du by dx2 by lambda p2. And what is your du by dx1 and du by dx2? Wasn't the slope of this curve? This is your x1, this is your x2. So when you divide du by, this is considered, this is equation 1 and this is equation 2. So if you derive by this, so what it becomes? Du du by dx2 divided by du by dx1 equal to lambda p2 by lambda p1, which is p2 by p1, right? So this is basically slope of this graph, which is your indifference curve. Okay, which is P2 by P1. Again, what is your slope of budget constraint? Your budget constraint was, now what is slope of your budget constraint was P1 x1 plus P2 x2 equal to M, right? So what is the slope of this budget constraint? Again P2 by P1. So you can see the slope of your budget constraint, and when you maximize using your Lagrange function, when you maximize your utility, you found the slope of your this curve becomes for the maximum value it is P2 by P1. So for the maximization problem, your slope of your budget constraint became equal to your slope of your curve. That's the reason we say the slope wherever your budget constraint is tangent to your indifference curve, that's the indifference curve which is selected for the maximum maximization problem, consumer maximization. So out of the multiple curve, how you are selecting it? You are deriving slope, a curve which has slope equal to your budget constraint is the ultimate curve for you. That is your ultimate utility, maximum utility for the consumer. That is how you maximize the utility. We'll just see a small example here. Okay. Consider your ux1, ux2 is equal to 10 x1 x2. Okay, this is your utility function. M is equal to 100, P1 is equal to 2, P2 is equal to 4. Now calculate the consumer equilibrium. We need to add the consumer equilibrium. We need to derive what is x1 and what is x2. Okay. Now, according to our Lagrange, if you put it into Lagrange function, L equal to will become your, which is 10 x1 0.5 x2 0.5 plus lambda m is 100 minus 2x1 minus 4x2. That is your function. Okay. Now D again I'll write this x1 0.5 x2 0.5 plus lambda 100 minus 2x1 2x2. Okay. Now you do dl by dx1 0. So what will become of this? 10 0.5 into 10 divided by, if you differentiate it, and it will become x2 0.5 and lambda minus 2 lambda equal to 0. So this will become 1 by 2 x2 by x1 equal to 2 lambda or 4 lambda you can say. So this is one of the equations. Derivation by, if you do by 2 dx2, so dx2 4x2, yes. If you do it by dx2, the similarly on the similar pattern 10 x1 from 5, sorry, this is 5 is 2. Now 10 x1 0.5 x2 become here 0.5 after differentiation divided by 2 equal to 4 lambda. Okay. Okay. So now this become 5 x1 by x2 is equal to 4 lambda. So you divide this equation by this equation, then you will get a relationship between x1 and x2. So if you divide this by this 2, it will become x1 10 by 5 x1 by x2 equal to 1. Okay, sorry, 2. So your 2x1 became x2. Now put 2x1 into x2 into your income constraint. What is your income constraint? 100 equal to 2x1 plus 4x2. 50 is equal to x1 plus 2x2. Now put x1 is equal to x by 2. X1 equal to x2 equal to 2x1. So if you put 2x1 plus 4x2 x1 50. So this now you can derive it using that function. The next we are going to, this is a utility maximization problem using your Lagrange function. Next we are going to see the income and substitution effect.